Hi folks, welcome back to the Horde. So down here in the basement, it's about 10 after 3, Tuesday, the 28th of January, 62 degrees. As one works their way closer to the stove, it gets warmer. That one says it's about 70 degrees. And a tad closer, that guy. What is it trying to tell us? Trying to tell us it can't focus. So, claims it's about 80 degrees. And this one kind of predicts the weather. You can see the clouds. So, given that I'm not the weather channel, what am I up to? It's been a few days since I made a video. I figured I'd just shoot something quick, let you guys know I'm alive. I'm down here in the lower Horde, basement Horde, so to speak. And doing what? Basically trying to stay warm. Cold out, about minus 10 centigrade, about 15 Fahrenheit. And just walking you over by the furnace. Hopefully I'll have enough light here so you guys could see what I'm up to. Just when you have a horde and you're a hoarder, you hoard everything and keep track of basically everything. So one of the things I keep track of, I have a runtime meter, on this furnace. I don't know if you guys can see the number, about 405. You guys might remember that when I fired this thing up, see if I have enough light here for you guys to read this stuff. The clock had on it, see that right there, 102.6. So at 405, I've basically consumed one of the 2 tanks of oil. I've showed you guys this also. So that's tank number 1. Tank number 1, tank number 2. So here it is. What did I say it was? January 29th or something like that. So when I fired this critter up in, when did I fire it up? November 23rd, right? I made it all the way to January 29th on 1 tank of oil, which isn't too bad considering how cold it's been. And this house is kind of big. This is a like 3,300 square foot house, plus the basement, and there's a sunroom out back. So I don't know, we don't heat the sunroom, we don't heat the basement other than the wood stove, and obviously whatever heat drips off of that. So 1 tank of oil for December and January isn't too horrible. In the same period of time, I burned 1 ton of pellets. A ton of pellets goes for about $210 for 50 bags. So I burned about 50 bags of pellets and probably about 250 gallons, 260 gallons of oil. It's probably not a full tank. It's probably a little less than a tank. But I have the tanks joined on the bottom. And I like to make sure that I have enough fuel when I go into the winter to basically make it through the entire winter. So I buy the pellets in advance and the everything else. I got toys all over this place.
That was fun. Can I do it again?
I like getting these things at the flea market. So that's one thing I wanted to kind of talk about. I don't know how interested you guys are, but just to let you know, it does pay to burn wood pellets and some firewood. Basically with the wood stove, I don't leave it on overnight because if you see this basement as it is, one does not want to leave a wood stove unattended for any amount of time. So I kind of only keep it lit when I'm downstairs near it. So there's the wood stove. So what have I been up to? Over the weekend, I had a wedding to go to up in Binghamton, New York, Binghamton. So we were up there for the wedding. I saw my sons and my cousins and, you know, everybody that's important to me, which is kind of cool. So my parents. So that was the weekend. Yesterday I had to go down to New York City, Hospital of Special Surgery, to have the progress of my hip check done. And to be honest with you, I wasn't thrilled with the news. I didn't feel like I got very good news, actually. I have two main issues with this hip. The first one was constant pain. Well, that issue's fixed, more or less. It hurts occasionally, but it's not bad, and it's still healing. So I guess let's say the pain situation is fixed. The second problem with this hip is I limp. I have a persistent limp. And I saw the surgeon who worked on me, world renowned, and he says, well, to be honest with you, all hip patients, all hip surgery people still limp after 6 weeks. And then he looked at my x-rays and he said, but in your case, your limp is not going to go completely away. The last surgeon that worked on your hip messed up where the muscles attached to the femur, and you're going to have trouble with that. If you go back a bunch of videos, you'll see an x-ray of why I limp, or a video why I limp, and you'll see like wires wrapped around the femur. Well, he took that stuff out, but while he was in there, he said he noticed quite a bit of damage to where the muscles attach to the femur. So he says the way they work, you're probably going to have a limp. It'll improve, but you're always going to have a limp. That didn't thrill me. And the second thing he told me that didn't thrill me was, he says those muscles are still recovering and he needs me to use a cane for a while longer. That really doesn't thrill me. So anyway, that wasn't exactly good news. If he would have seen me do my death march through New York without a cane from Grand Central all the way down to the Hospital of Special Surgery, and most of the way back and up and down the stairs to the subways and everything else I did yesterday, he probably would have been less than pleased, but such is life. So I guess whenever one has surgery, you kind of come back. You don't always get 100% of what you want. I mean, I wanted to come back obviously pain-free, but I also wanted to come back limp-free. It looks like I'm going to get the pain-free, but not the limp-free. Lastly, my niece, the person who got married, had a bunch of these things at the wedding. And they were in, I don't know, those paper lanterns, Chinese lanterns, I guess they're called. And I thought they were cool, because she was throwing away the lanterns. So I kind of took some of these LEDs out of the lanterns. And they had this in there. So they had these LEDs and these lithium-ion batteries. And they just taped the leads to the batteries. And they were on for like days. She set the place up the day before the wedding. White ones also. I mean, huge light now, right? You can see. But yeah, she set the place up days before the wedding, and had these on, and you know, obviously she was throwing them away. So I took the batteries and I took the LEDs. I took 5 of them, a few extra batteries. Some of the LEDs must have fallen off the batteries because there were a couple of the lanterns with LEDs inside, or with batteries inside, but no LEDs. So I kind of bagged those. So, you know, a little something, I don't know. Alright, other than that, just to let you know I'm alive. Sorry the videos have been short, but it's been like cold out and icy, slippery. Just not the kind of weather that puts you outside working successfully. Very easy to go outside and attempt to work, but break more than you're working on, and get hurt and fall down, wet shoes, the whole bit. So I've been kind of trying to behave myself. He did give me a return to work date for a week from tomorrow, so I have one last week at home. It is supposed to warm up over the weekend, so hopefully that'll be true. It'll be nice to get outside a little bit. Yeah, I guess that about covers it. I guess I'm basically telling you what I've been up to. I've noticed I'm not the only one who's kind of slowed down on videos. I guess it's it's just the cold weather. It's hard to get outside and do anything interesting, right? I mean, you sit inside and you put wood in the stove and watch some news, and which is amazing how little they do in Washington. We pay a lot of money for government, but we sure don't get anything out of it. Those clowns just do nothing. I mean, they just want to scream at each other. I mean, it's nice to have disagreements, but in the olden days, they used to compromise and go forward on a few things. These guys, they're really just down there making noise, drawing it up for the cameras. Both sides, by the way. I don't know why we pay them. We sure. I don't know. Maybe this is the kind of government this country wants, but sure, paying a lot of money for a lot of nothing. I guess that's my belief. I know if... Anyway, I wish I could get paid to be... I live near New Jersey, so to be a political appointee on the Port Authority and make between $150,000 and $250,000 a year for basically being in mischief of opening and closing bridge lanes and so forth. I mean, with the stuff that went by and all, you're just wondering about the big bucks. And here in New York, you got Port Authority, then you got the Thruway Authority, then you got the Bridge Authority. You got all these different authorities. You're wondering how many of these $150,000 to $250,000 a year guys we're paying for. I mean, and everybody wonders why the taxes are high. Anyway, no ranting. Gotta go. Thanks for watching, commenting, and subscribing. We'll catch you on the next episode of The Horde, and hopefully we get outside and get some work done. It's enough being in here, sitting next to a wood stove. Bye now, folks.